Every day, we're encouraged to like, share, click, and comment online. And it's become second nature for us to show appreciation, promote across our networks, and anchor our thoughts with hashtags. And these actions on their own may seem small, but combined they produce patterns that can be monitored and used to shape what you see next. In 2014, Facebook made $12.5 billion in advertising alone. Those same likes, those same clicks are worth a considerable amount. I'm a user experience designer. That means I create digital products and watch people use technology every day. But I'm not interested in tech for tech's sake. I'm interested in us, the humans navigating this fast-changing landscape, and the opportunities for us to engage with it and shape it if we choose to. And today I want to ask you, what would happen if you valued your attention as much as the companies of the likes of Facebook, Amazon, or Google did? Because these platforms are all around us. We use them to get up in the morning, to get to work on time, to remember a friend's birthday, to hear about a new event, or to count how many steps we walked to work that day. They're ubiquitous and concern us all. And there's an arms race going on at the moment to provide the best algorithms to capture and harness our attention. What's an algorithm? An algorithm is just a tool that uses a systematic, step-by-step process to solve a problem. The problem it's trying to solve here is how can I capture your attention that little bit longer so I can understand you that little bit better and recommend things that you're likely to like. And we all remember those clunky recommendations. You remember that one time you clicked on that rather racy pair of red shoes, or those hot pants you couldn't quite pull off, only to have them follow you around the internet for the next 10 days. Well, the days of those clunky recommendations are numbered. There's something like Google Now, for instance, is, if you let it, it's able to understand where you live, where you work, when your next dentist appointment is, your next flight is, and get you there on time, and get you there to that birthday with the present already previously bought. These are much more like algorithms that are your personal assistant rather than something that gets in the way. This next quote kind of encapsulates this change. Netflix recommendations have become so right for me that even though I know it's an algorithm, it feels like a friend. I borrowed this quote from Pamela Pavlicek. She's an amazing woman who is a design researcher and data scientist, and she's interested in our emotional attachment to technology. And I feel this quote really encapsulates how they are now part of our life seamlessly. And I like to think of technology as neutral. It's like this material that reacts to how we use it. It can be convenient and fun. It can get me to work on time and entertain me on the way there, or it can play to our biases. Ethan Zuckerman is a technology author, and here he's specifically talking about how we use Google. What you want to know isn't always what you should know. And what you want to know is shaped by who or what you think is important. As a UK mass, this is what we thought was important in 2015. I know, right? You must be thinking, how is Jurassic World so low on that list? Or you might be thinking, what about the discovery of water on Mars? Or how come the migrant crisis doesn't even get a mention? Well, all this does is show that where you spend your attention has a potential to create trends. It has a potential to give certain events more importance over others. One industry where we've spent our attention has produced sizable waves is journalism. We don't pay for our papers anymore, and as a result, news publishers have lost the means to distribution. We turn to our social media platforms for our news updates. And the problem here isn't so much that journalists aren't getting paid to write quality news anymore. That's a separate issue. The problem here is more that the news stories are being filtered by those same social media platforms. So by the time they get to us, what you're seeing is what the platform thinks you'll be interested in for what you've engaged with previously, what your friends are reading, or what the platform itself thinks should be popular or important at that given time. And this, much as this convenience can be really useful in our busy lives, there is a danger that we are getting pushed into this smaller, comfier bubble, which ultimately will be harder to break out of. And at this point, some of you may be thinking, pull the plug, clean slate, let's start again. But I'd argue that we shouldn't. Because without these technologies, these platforms, we wouldn't find ourselves here. These are still the best way we have of making new connections, hearing new ideas, and spreading them across the world. And aside from that worthy fact, as humans, we love to consume content. We think that's a modern phenomenon. We always have. And we probably always will. We consume to learn. We consume to better ourselves. We consume to be entertained. And nowadays, the national average is that we spend approximately 9 hours a day doing just that. And we are all time-poor individuals nowadays. And now we actually need these algorithms to make sense of the huge quantity of content that is out there. But what we gain with this convenience and speed of this personalized content dropped at our digital door, we may lose to narrow-mindedness. So again, what would the world look like if you valued your attention as much as these companies? If you gave yourself an attention budget, a finite attention budget, how would you engage with the world around you to make sure you're not limiting it, but expanding it? Some good news from Pamela. With enough data, algorithms can replicate existing patterns, but it's more difficult to allow systems to organize around emergent behaviors. Personalization stays in the past. Humans are in motion towards the future. So these same algorithms look at what you did yesterday to give you the content today. There is therefore ample opportunity for you to reinvent yourself every day. So my call today is challenge the algorithm. These algorithms are only as good as the materials that we give them. So why not give them behaviors we want to encourage? Let's not just feed it. Let's leverage it. I'm going to leave you with my personal routine for challenging my algorithm. And the first step is spot the gaps. Who or what are you connected to? Who or what are you disconnected from? Are you surrounded by people who read or think in the same ways as you? When was the last time you had the perspective of a 12-year-old or an 85-year-old? For me, it was when I moved to Edinburgh 4 years ago to start a tech job. I started to really miss the messy, creative design environment that I had left behind and look for ways to bring that back into my life. So in 2014, I started the Edinburgh CreativeMornings chapter. CreativeMornings is a monthly morning breakfast meetup for the creative community. It started in New York in 2007 and now has spread to over 160 cities across the world. And it brings together designers, artists, musicians, entrepreneurs, developers, list goes on, copywriters, all sorts, and all together in one roof to get a free breakfast and hear a speaker talk on a theme. For me, it's great. Once a month, I have this pool of different people with different ideas that tests my ways of thinking and kind of fills that gap that I was looking to fill. The second, and perhaps most important aspect of challenging your algorithm is seek serendipity. These algorithms look for patterns. So if you do something a little out of the ordinary, or downright weird, they really struggle to keep up. So make space in your room, in your life, for novel, new experiences. Perhaps it might be starting an event. It might be joining a dance class, a flash mob event. I recently picked up boxing, but not the gym bunny kind of boxing, the door down the dark alleyway kind of boxing. And on my first night, I met this really friendly female street fighter, and my world was instantly expanded. But aside from that, CreativeMornings builds serendipity into my life. My team and I, every month, when we program these events, are challenged to look at the events through a different lens. So for empathy, in September, we had an architect talk about his story of designing and building hospices. For ethics, we had a mindfulness practitioner talk to us about the ethics of building addictive digital products. And for robots, we had this guy bring in sunflower robots that we could interact with. And what this creates, much like today, is sort of a live stumble upon for people who are open to risk, are open to being led astray, hear new ideas, and get their perspective on it. And as you start to build this into your life, you'll start to realize, as you start to engage online and offline with this new content, you'll see the effects on your social media. You'll see it through the networks that you've made, through the content that gets pushed to you, and through the ideas you're engaging with. So next time you find yourselves online, think of your attention budget. Put a price on what you choose to engage with. Actively consume to make sure you're expanding your world and not limiting it. Thank you very much.